The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. This is episode number 247. Today's date is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, the first day of summer. We are live as always on YouTube and over on Facebook. So if you're out there in the live chat, go ahead and say something. We don't know that you're out there unless you do. If you want to call or text in, yes, you can call or text into the show. Utilize the Ghost Tactical Hotline presented by our good friends Rod and Shelly Gates of Aegis Gun Care. That number is 530-364-4678. If you're a veteran, really anybody, but especially if you're a veteran and you're in that hole, you're in the darkness and you're looking for that light, call me, text me, email me 24/7. I cannot give you medical advice, but I could probably be a pretty damn good ear to listen. If you are looking for someone to get you towards medical advice or attention, remember two things. One, you are not alone in this fight. You have a lot of brothers and sisters out here that are willing and able to fight with you and for you. And two, the world is a much better place with you in it. So please utilize the Veteran Crisis Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. Once again, 1-800-273-8255, the Veteran Crisis Hotline. As always, we are spotlighting the United States Marine Corps. If you have any questions on what it takes to earn the title United States Marine, please see the website marines.com. And we are a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Please check out all the awesome pro-gun, pro-2A podcasts over at selfdefenseradio.net. Take this off of my ugly mug out there and say hello to some of our buddies that are joining us for this great conversation tonight. The Tactical FUD, King FUD himself may not like this as much as others, but I think he'll probably have something to say about this. But we've got our first buddy from gearreport.com or gear-report, but from Gear Report, the director of snacks and beverages. What's up, TJ? How you doing, bud?
Oh, just getting done work, enjoying a little live stream here.
There you go. That's right. And riding shotgun as always with us, the tactical leprechaun himself, Clover. What's up, buddy?
Lord. Can't believe I'm here.
Yep. I almost didn't send you the link because I knew that.
You know what's crazy? King FUD honestly knows more about AR-15s than most of the tactical bros out there do.
Probably.
Isn't that sad?
A little bit, yeah. Little bit.
They really need to step up their game a little bit.
Well, since you are riding shotgun as always, we need to find a sponsor for this. Honestly, let's just be honest. We need to find a sponsor for the shotgun of the week.
I agree.
So, Chloe, what is the shotgun of the week?
So did you know? So you're familiar. I know TJ is because he's got a little FUD in him.
A little bit.
So you're familiar with Browning A-bolt, correct?
Yes.
Did you know that they made a 12 gauge Browning A-bolt?
No.
They made a 12 gauge.
All right, you got me.
Rifled slug barrel A-bolt. Yes, sir. I think they discontinued it in the late 90s, but they did. So
A-bolt 12 gauge. All right.
Ghost Fingers got a rash typing that in.
I did, yeah. My computer's like, did you mean to type this in?
Really?
Like, sends this message. Please verify that this is your search term.
Went straight to typing 12 gauge.
Hunter. I'll be damned. The A-bolt Hunter. Huh. Well, I'll be. What are the odds of that?
Pretty good, actually.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Before we move on, a little shout out to Foss out there. Mighty Mouse sends us $5 of super chat. You guys know that we don't ask nor do we encourage them. All super chats go towards sending care packages to our troops downrange. So appreciate you that. Got some. Say hello to some people out there. You got 223 DMR out there. Tactical Fud. What's up, Buck? Screaming Skull Saloons. Educating us out there a little bit from the Wikipedia page of the STG 44. Thank you for that. Jacob's out there. Clover's working double duty. Double T's out there. Fodder Tail from the Facebook size America. He goes on to say, please, everyone, vote and always carry. I couldn't agree more. Snob is out there. F&H is out there. He says, yo, gun nuts. I'm more of a cashew guy, but thanks for bringing that up. Let's see here. Off the X, Lance is out there. Long time no see. Glad to have a chance to catch up. What's up, man? He's been busy working, I'm assuming, and I think we were all kind of real busy there during the summer months, but it is what it is. Let's see here. Am I caught up? Ozzy's out there. Bark at the Moon. Screaming Skull Saloon says, just got my first gas grill and my life has changed. Still loving grilling with charcoal, but when I'm hungry after work and don't want to wait 45 minutes to eat, it is great. There is a place and a definite reason to have a gas grill.
Propane and propane accessories.
Yeah, you know, but I do.
I've got both.
I don't suppose that the text of the agreement is going to be discussed. Well, we might jump into some political stuff here. You never know. No, I think there is a time and a place for propane grills. If you've got a bunch of people around and you got to get a bunch of stuff cooked, you got a party or something. If you're just grilling for the family and all that, I still don't think that you can go wrong with a charcoal grill with mesquite bricks in there or mesquite charcoal. But I like regular charcoal with mesquite bricks thrown in. Get that little, maybe a Texas thing. I don't know. I tell you what, I've really grown to love the last couple, especially for steaks, the last few years. And I love cooking steaks, but I have really just enjoyed cooking them on a stovetop, and with a I know I get it, but you know, it's one of those where you get yourself a nice skillet that's aged and got all sorts of stuff. It's really, really good. I have enjoyed cooking steaks the last few years on the stovetop. So, but yeah, I definitely, and Buck says he wants a smoker. Screaming Skull says a combo gas charcoal.
I've got
Clover, what do you have, TJ?
I've got the big Blackstone griddle. That's propane. And then I've got the propane grill, and then we've got a charcoal. But that Blackstone, I think it's like 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
That thing's seasoned. You can cook anything on that. I cook a lot of seafood and vegetables on it. We did stir fry on it the other day.
Yeah, I want something like a Blackstone
grill, don't you? You have a pellet kind of grill, don't you?
Yeah. I got rid of all of my stuff except for I've got a little, and more because it's portable. I've got a little Weber, one of the round, little charcoal grill things.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I've just got the pellet grill because it's as fast as gas. It really is, and you get the smoke flavor with it, and it's completely like automated, and you control it from your cell phone and all kind of crazy stuff. You just got to make sure the hopper's full of pellets, but unless you're cooking for dozens of hours, you don't have to worry about it,
Right. One of my good buddies here has one. I'm not sure which brand, but he's got like the Cadillac. I mean, he spent a lot of money on it. But yeah, he does the same thing. He's actually can control it from a cell phone or tablet or whatever. And he swears by it. Now, for me, it's one of those where I'm sure they're awesome, but like when you've been grilling your whole life and all of that, you kind of know how things work. And for me, it's just, I'm sure I would love it eventually, but the learning curve, the time to learn a new system, and the timing of it is probably what I would probably have the worth of it is.
It's not, man. I'm telling you, there's not. It's so easy.
That's
That's the appeal. When you're talking about a smoker and you're having to put wood in there, and you start out, usually I do with pecan or apple or something, and I finish off with oak, and you got to sit out there and you got to watch the temperature, and you got to open and close the little air thing, and you don't have to do any of that with a pellet grill, man. It's all controlled right there from the tablet.
I guess I'm assuming it's even heat across the.
It's got I mean, it will. I mean, as long as you keep it clean, it's actually got this slide gate thing underneath the racks, and so if it's getting a little hotter on one side than the other, you just shift that slide rack either left or right. Yeah, it's and like I said, it shows you everything on the app. It's so easy. It's just
I like the grilling. I don't know. I love having some beers while I grill, get a cigar.
Yeah.
And just the whole grilling, like I'm grilling. Leave me alone. This is all I'm doing. And I don't care if it takes 4 or 5 hours. If I'm grilling, I'll be on that thing.
When I'm on the actual grill on the deck, that's what I enjoy. Just sitting out there.
And that's what I like.
Got some music going, relaxing. And I started grilling inside, obviously during the wintertime a few years ago. I started, let me start doing the stove during the wintertime, and I really enjoyed that. But there is a side of that hanging out on the back porch, knowing that either a buddy's here or I'm by myself, which is even fine, better to me, and just got some music going and just chilling. So absolutely, I get it.
That's now, I like it.
Yeah. Now, Screaming Skull Suit says he needs to get an air fryer for the cabin. That might be the next thing that we get, because my daughter has one. And she swears by it.
Love it.
And it was like 25% of the fat that you would get from deep frying and all that.
I don't know about all that, but it's
that's what they say.
So
that's what they say. I don't know.
It's easy and faster.
It's just so easy, and the cleanup is nothing. Like our basket is all metal, and it's all it's got a grate thing or whatever in there, and then it's got the basket, right? And then it's all and it's what am I thinking? Like where it doesn't stick. Non-stick Teflon or whatever, I guess.
Teflon, but I don't know.
So anyway, I mean, we fry it a bunch of different times before we even clean it, But you just turn around and fill it up with water till the water's above the grate. Slam it in there and put it up on 400 degrees for about 15 minutes, and literally, when it goes off, take it out, dump the deal, rinse it, put it back in there, and you're done.
Clean.
It's like it's done. And I mean, spotless clean. Not like you have to use a rag in it. I mean, spotless clean. It's crazy.
The only thing that my daughter, once again, this would be the only thing, and I'm more than willing to try and get used to it. But my daughter said the first couple times, you just got to get used to the timing for certain things, certain things.
It's that way with microwaves, though, right?
It is.
Microwaves,
it is.
You're all screwed
but
up.
For me, it's definitely where that'll probably be our next food.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some sirloins in there, probably not tomorrow, but probably the next day.
Let me know how that goes, because
it hasn't been good the last couple times. So it's that trial and error you're talking about, right?
Yeah. But
they're edible for me, but for other people, they're not going to be.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do steaks in, but something that I would do would be like a pork tenderloin or something.
Crystal just cooked some.
Pork tenderloin takes a long time in the oven to get it right, and that might speed up the process. But a pork tenderloin could be really good.
Whole chickens, and it's good.
Whole chickens, yeah.
Country style ribs are good. They turned out nice.
Yeah.
I'm stepping my game up to a deep fryer. I want some coconut shrimp, and I want some.
So you want like an old school fry daddy, huh?
Yeah, on a big.
I would love that, but I know that I would be the one stuck cleaning it, and I don't want. I'm lazy.
Well, if you've got an industrial and where you're able to, it strains the grease and does all of that.
Yeah.
You could, if you had a covered place, you could use that outside, put it outside.
That's true.
And it wouldn't be quite so bad. And you wouldn't really have to change the grease that often.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, think about how often fast food places change the grease. You know what I mean? Not very often.
Not very often. The more grease, the less they have to change it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and that's where a lot of the flavor is too.
It depends on what too. I mean, like if I cook fish, I'm just going to cook fish with it, and I'll change it out if I cook something else.
If you're going to use that grease,
that's a totally different
fried
grease though,
chicken only, and I'm just saying if you're just using it for fried chicken or something, then just keep using. That's where
it would be shrimp, oysters, clams.
Well, that's
fish.
peanut oil. You're going to use for that.
I got a flat top grill, a countertop flat top grill, so I could do like hibachi style.
Yep.
Got that for Christmas for us last year. I've only used it once. I need to start using that. Maybe do some stuff. But it's pretty big. You can put a steak over here and vegetables and onions and it'd be like your own small little hibachi grill, and it's pretty awesome. But I definitely need to.
Just be careful, don't cut a finger off flipping knives around.
I'm getting some new knives. My wife doesn't know. It's gonna be like a surprise. I'm getting a 16 set knife set that's pretty awesome. But,
nice.
Anyways, all right. Enough of the food chat. We could talk food forever, which I'm okay with.
Yeah. Listen, we all love food.
We all love food, and every chat has to turn into a food chat at some point, right? But
usually Sundays with Gary, it's food chat.
Yeah. But we are going to start going. You guys know that every Thursday, Saturday, and Monday at 10 a.m. over on our YouTube community tab, we put out our Ghost Tactical polls, and we have some fun with them and all of that. So let's run through the three from this past week. The first one, I figured it wouldn't get a whole lot. It only has 920 votes, and this kind of is talking about coming off the heels of the Johnny Depp trial and all that. But I asked a question: is jury duty the new American dream? You get to skip work and go judge a stranger with no consequences. And it was a yes or no vote. What do you guys think? Jury duty, the American dream, or hell no?
I've been several times and I do not enjoy it.
So far I've been exempted from all of them, thank goodness, and I'm glad.
I've made it as far as jury selection.
Yeah, I've been to one jury duty, and that was down in San Antonio, long 20-something years ago. And there was like 400 of us there. I mean, it's a huge, and just sit there. And this is before cell phones had it, and all that. So we're just sitting there, and they had like, not a bad thing, but they had like Andy Griffin and stuff, and it was like a channel that you couldn't change the channel. So like whatever was on. And so you had 400 people like bitching and moaning. Half of them didn't mind it. Half of them wanted the channel change and all that. And it was like, oh, this is terrible. And I never ended up getting about 1:00 in the afternoon. We broke for lunch at 11, came back at 12. And about 1:30, they came in and said, all right, we're done for the day. If you haven't been called, head on home. And I was like, I'm out. It is what it is.
I've called a couple times the night before and been, everything's dismissed. And then I've had to show up twice, and then all the cases were settled. And then the last time was like, oh no, you go up there. And then I made it to the jury selection. And then finally I stepped up my game, and I got nuked out of that. Cause I was like, I don't need this.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So no, not the dream.
71% of the people of the 900 plus votes, 71% said no. Jury duty is not the new American dream. So our next question was Saturday, and it has 1.5 thousand votes. Should vegan chicken really be called chicken? What do you guys think?
I don't know why that's a question. If it's vegan, it's not chicken.
The reason why I said that is I was at the grocery store last week sometime. It might have been 2 weeks ago when I saw it, but whenever I saw it, and it was in like the meat section of all places, and it says vegan chicken. I said, what the hell is vegan chicken? So I pick it up and I start looking at the ingredients. There's nothing in there that's not plant stuff. So the fact they're calling it vegan chicken, and I was kind of said out loud, I was like, vegan chicken, what the hell? And this guy was in there and he says, that ain't American. That ain't American. They should never call that stuff chicken. And I was like, no kidding.
I've seen vegan chorizo, and I'm like, well, you can't call it chorizo if it's vegan. I was like, I don't know what you guys are doing. I said, just call it.
Well, what about
meat tasting vegetable paste?
Right. What about
flavored goo, you know.
So I agree with all of those. What about vegan sausage?
Is it no?
Sausage
They-
is just ground up. Typically sausage, I guess, is ground up meat.
Ground up
So
meat.
ground up vegetables, I guess it wouldn't work. It still wouldn't work. It wouldn't be meat.
Yeah.
Now the act of sausaging something, I get.
It's called a
Because
spring,
you can
that's a spring roll. If it's all
basically,
Right.
yes,
Right.
a wonton with
Yeah.
vegetables in
Yeah,
it.
it's a spring roll. Okay. Fine.
It's a vegetable burrito.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vegetable paste.
95% said hell no. I want to meet the 5% that said yes. That's what I worry about.
I think
there
that it is
5%
just to be
of the
funny.
people? I hope to God. I hope to God it's raised.
That
Because
was G Webs on all of his accounts.
This is true. Yep. 5% of 1.5 thousand is 75 votes. Yeah, he's got about 75 channels. That sounds about right. Oh Lord. 5% said yes. I'm worried about this country. And our last one, which goes into what we're going to talk about tonight. This came out yesterday and it's got 1.6 thousand votes. It says, if you could go back and buy your first AR again, what caliber would you get? The options are 223-556, 300 blackout, 458 SOCOM, 9mm, or other. TJ, I'm going to start with you. If you could go back and buy/build your first AR again, first of all, what was your first AR caliber?
It was a 556, 223-556.
Would you change
Same
it?
thing.
Would you,
Yep.
you go back and get the
Would not change it.
223-556?
Yep.
Okay.
That was
Clove,
back in the
you were-
day before it was, all the cool accessories are out. So I was like, all right, awesome.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Do you remember what your first AR was, Clove? Like what caliber?
Absolutely.
Was it a 223-556 or what was it?
Absolutely.
If you could go back and get would you go back and change calibers
Nah,
for
I
your
don't think
first
so.
one?
I don't
Yeah.
think so. No.
No, I get it. A lot of people out there said that 223-556 got 75% of the vote.
Yeah, makes sense.
300 blackout got 13% of the vote. That's a substantial amount of people. That's not a bad thing. 458 SOCOM and 9mm come in at 4%, and other was 3%, and the vast majority of the others was 308. And I think that's I get it. I get the 308. Sure.
Did you say AR-15 or did you just say
I
AR?
just said
in your question?
AR because
okay,
the AR platform.
Yeah, because you said
I knew-
9mm too. So yeah,
Yes, I said 9mm and all of that. I wouldn't change mine. Mine obviously was a 556 as well. If I was to go back, I don't think I would, but if I was to go back, I probably would go back with a 9mm. Get me a little, hold on. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I tried to mute myself in time. It did not work. But I don't think I would. I think I'd still go with the 556. But yeah.
Now
But
Marcus,
yeah, we to get some love. What's up?
Marcus out there going back to the vegan chicken. He said unless the chicken itself is a vegan. I didn't
All right,
think
so
about
we're
that.
start throwing a bunch of damn caveats and saying, okay, if it was a grain-fed chicken only, I mean, but here's
is
the
it
thing.
vegan chicken? It would be vegan chicken though.
No.
What do you feed chicken? You're not going to feed them chicken. That's just cruel and unusual. Like
It would be
it's butt grained, right?
Yeah.
So what you've seen in the store was absolutely not vegan chicken. But if you go to the meat market and there's
But the chicken could be
that
vegan.
was a vegan, then you would be eating vegan chicken at that point. That's what I'm saying. That's what
You'd be eating a vegan chicken, not
chicken.
vegan chicken. A vegan chicken, not vegan chicken.
If it
Yeah, I
looked
guess
like
so.
chicken, I would say it's chicken. If it was
That
a vegan
one
chicken,
little-
if it didn't
Let's
look like
be
chicken,
honest.
no way in
Could
hell.
change the whole thing. Now,
But
first of all, if
let's-
you're going to the grocery store, no offense if you vegans out there, fuck it. I don't care if I piss you off. If you're going to the grocery store to grill out chicken, you're getting vegan chicken. My God, shame on you.
So let's be honest
I
about
just
it,
lost,
though.
I almost want to now.
5% of my audience.
There are some chicken nuggets out there that I'm not real sure a vegan chicken nugget wouldn't be better than those chicken
Well,
nuggets.
this is true. I'll give you that much.
Oh,
Now I know
Lord.
you had a Burger King. What was it called? The Unwhopper or whatever it was called.
The Impossible
Oh, the
Burger.
Impossible Whopper. I eat
Burger.
that pretty regularly.
And you said that
actually.
it actually tastes pretty good. You actually told me at one time he thought it was even better than
I
the
like
normal
it. I like
Whopper.
it. I like
Yeah.
it better than a normal Whopper. Yeah. Of course, that's
Yeah.
not saying a whole lot. The normal Whopper still ain't that great, but you know, it's
better than
Burger King.
some.
Nothing at Burger King is great except for the cheesy tots.
Onion rings. Onion rings are
Oh,
pretty
and
good
onion
too.
rings. Yeah.
The onion rings are pretty good.
Onion
And their
rings. Yeah.
breakfast, they've got a ham, egg, and cheese croissant.
Oh, the
Sandwich.
sandwiches are
Pretty
yeah,
good.
the sandwiches are
I'm
tight.
still McDonald's big breakfast with hotcakes guy.
My favorite breakfast
that.
ever, and I started making them at home for a while. When they had the steak, egg, and cheese bagel,
Yeah.
greatest breakfast. They don't make it. They had the bacon, egg, and cheese, but not the steak,
Oh, I
egg, and
know.
cheese bagels. So I started making them here at the house, and they're
I don't think it was
phenomenal.
real steak either. So
No, I use steak 'em on mine. I just go and get some steak 'em, and they're really
I love
good.
me some steakums.
Yes, I do too. Once again, we're going back to food chat. Sorry, guys. Let's see here. I see
was on
gun
purpose.
people says yes, it was. Let's see here. I just saw someone. Georgia Rebel. I just saw that. What's up, Georgia Rebel? I hadn't seen Rebel in a while. Marcus says my first AR was a 5.56. Like if I could go back, I wouldn't change it. I would go back and change the barrel to 20 instead of 16. That's fair. That's fair. Wes, even a vegan chicken can snatch a bug now and then. That's true. That is true. Let's see here. Go down here. Georgia says, I have a bolt action chambered in 308. There you go. It must have been when we were talking about the 308 stuff. Let's see here. Clover's out there trying to stir trouble up. More guns ASAP, Mr. FNH. So, yeah. So we've talked about this before, and a lot of people have talked about this before, about buying versus building your first AR. And I got no problem with people building. My stance, and we'll go through the room and all that. We've had this discussion before, I'm sure. But I believe that someone, unless they are engineering, mechanically inclined, and all of that, I think that buying the first AR is probably more important. You can break it down, look at it, see where parts are supposed to go, how it's supposed to work, how it's supposed to function, and then from there you can build your own. But having one that's already assembled and ready to go, and already, then you can, like I said, take it apart, figure out different things and all that. So I'm a big believer in buying your first AR versus building your first AR. We did have a bunch of people voting that did mention that in the comments, that they built all their ARs and never have bought one and all that. But TJ, we'll get to that question here in a second for sure. TJ, as far as first AR build versus buy, do you have someone that might be out there looking to get an AR game that you would recommend one way or the other?
Oh, I'd say buy. I mean, I bought my first one and I used it and I was like, okay, and I got familiar with the platform. And then once I got into the gun industry a little bit more, I figured like, wow, I can change out this and I can change out this. And then I figured out what I liked and I didn't like. But yeah, I've bought probably 3 ARs before I even started building my first one.
Yep.
So then I figured out okay.
Yeah. I know Clove prefers building, but as far as giving advice to someone on their first one, you prefer buying first one? That's what I'm saying. You prefer to build your ARs. That's what I said.
I've only ever bought one.
Yeah. And that was your first?
And that was the first. Yeah. But yeah, totally. There's no downside to me. I don't see any drawbacks to buying your first. None.
Yeah.
Zero.
And I bought 3 different brands. So I bought, I had a
Did you buy?
Bushmaster.
And there's tons of
I bought a
drawbacks to
Bushmaster
building
first,
your first.
and then I bought a Colts, and then
Mm.
then I bought an Ordnance.
If you
Don't
run
judge
out
me.
to build your first, right?
Yeah.
First of all, it's going to be cost, because look at the initial cost with all the tools and all the things, and doing maintenance or upgrades on the one you buy. You could buy those tools along the way before you're able to build, the first one that you build. So it can spread that out. And then you're not really sure what you like. You're not really sure on what's compatible. You're not really sure what's a good price or a bad price. And there's just so many drawbacks. And then you put it together and it doesn't run, and you don't have the experience of what's going on, right? And so it's harder to troubleshoot. It's just there's
More
all kinds
importantly,
of
if you're gonna
potholes
go
with-
get components from everything, if you're new to the game, you don't know what brands are good or bad, or which one's gonna hold up, or which ones are gonna just fall and fail quickly. So
there's a lot of cheap parts out there too. There's a lot of Chinesium stuff.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. And cheap is not necessarily good. Inexpensive is not bad, but cheap are not good. And Now Jacob has a great question. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and I said that's why I bought my first one. I knew nothing about ARs. I bought it.
Yeah.
And then I figured out what I didn't like about it and what I can improve. And first thing I did was the trigger and the grip. And then I went to the bolt carrier, and then I went to an adjustable gas block, and then I figured out what I liked. And then after that, it was good. But I know people that just, I love this thing. I haven't changed anything on it yet, and I'm like, awesome. They keep either building or buying the same thing. And that's why I bought, because I was like, I want to see what this one does, see what's available, and it worked out well.
The battle rifle.
I build every one I build is awesome.
Yeah, the battle rifle, aside from the actual like aluminum shell and the barrel, nothing in that is what was bought with it.
Right.
And we've talked about this before. In Clover, we've probably all got, between parts we switched in and out of all of our ARs, we've got a box full of enough parts that we could probably build 2 or 3 more if we wanted to. Let's just be honest.
You guys want some quad rails?
Oh, quad rails. You remember when that was the shit? Like, there was a time when people literally thought that was the greatest invention ever.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 3 of every size they make, I think, sitting around.
Yeah.
Yep. I dug them out the other day, and I was like, no, I don't know what I need to do with these. Should I throw them away? I was like,
The only reason why the quad rail became popular was because at one point when the military switched from the Colt M16A2 to the M4, it came with quad rails because they then finally started to being able to implement attachments to the rifle systems.
It didn't phase me either. I have giant hands, so a lot of people were like, "Oh, the quad rail is just so thick around, and it's a cheese grater." But I'm like, I put the rail covers on them, and I'm like, that's fine.
It was also the same time the military issued shooting gloves.
So talking quad rails. Traditional rail covers or the ladder style rail covers?
I like the ladder style. If I had to choose, I'd like the ladder style.
Yeah, it keeps the profile along.
A little bit. Yeah. For sure. We'll come back to real quick. There is a great question from Jacob out there, and Jacob says, "I have a safety production question about Garans, or Garans, as most people. I call them Garans because I'm not fancy like that. But was there a Clover would probably TJ? You might, yes. Clover, stick your finger out, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Was there a change in the production process in the 50s that would allow for those Garans to be compatible with current 30-06 loads? I don't have a damn clue. TJ, do you? I'm assuming Clover might have an answer for this.
Nope. Answer's nope.
No, you don't have an answer, or the answer is no.
The answer to that question is no.
Okay. I got you.
But here's the thing. That question is predicated on a myth. However, the
Yeah.
myth is there's a kernel of truth to the myth. So I would say this: don't get into a Reddit forum on this topic at all. So
Yeah.
here's the thing: this is coming from Marine Corps armorers and retired Marine Corps armorers, and as you know, the Marine Corps League here had my grant for like 2 freaking
Yeah.
years. I forgot to even
Yeah.
add it. And they brought it back, and it was upgraded, the op rod system and everything on it. While they had it, they graciously, since I had it for 2 years, cleaned it up, and I mean, it was gorgeous when they brought it back. Anyway, better than when I lent it to them. But anyway, so the thing is with higher pressure modern ammunition, you can damage the op rod. Okay. And
Okay.
that's where the kernel of truth. Now, how likely is that? That's going to depend
Sure.
on the type of ammunition that you actually use, how much you actually shoot through it, a lot of
Yeah.
other factors, right? So, can you get modern ammunition and shoot it for the rest of your life and never screw up the op rod? Yes.
Possibly. It is even
It being a
probable.
Garand,
Is
it
it
being a
probable?
Garand, yeah, it
Yeah.
being a Garand and highly collectible for what it costs to
Why would
replace
you
those
do that?
parts and upgrade it and put the
Yeah.
originals in a drawer somewhere, right? So you can always put it back if you want to do it or
That's
whatever.
true too. Yeah. Sure.
Yes, it's worth doing, in my opinion.
Yep. Absolutely. I love the M1 Grand. You guys know that I've been looking to get one, but I'm just not going to pay the prices that are they're calling for right now. I wouldn't mind paying 7, maybe 8, but I'm not paying 12 to 1500 for one. I'll wait till I don't need one that bag. I'm not going to shoot it a hole. I just want one. I'll wait until they come back down to under $1,000 for the Grand. But yeah. Defense Dad, excuse me. You like that? I'm not just a pretty face, homie. Defense Dad says, if you're mechanically inclined, then build. I can rebuild a car from ground up, though, so an AR is cake. There you go. Marcus says, I bought my first 2 and built the rest. There you go. Now, Travis T. Now, this could be the caveat to all of this. He said, I helped my nephew build his first AR. That's probably the only scenario I would recommend building over buying. Yeah, if you're dead set on building your first AR for whatever reason, cost, or you're wanting to learn it as you go, yes, make sure that you've got someone that's built several of them that can help you, because there are a few little things that you can figure out most of the build. Let's just be honest. But there are a few little things that if you don't have experience with or whatever, you get screwed with. Go ahead.
Well, that's a caveat for not having to buy all the tools too.
This is true,
right?
Yeah,
I mean, I have built. Trying to think, I think I've built 2 buddies, or I've helped them. I didn't build theirs. I helped them build it. Is what I did.
Yeah.
It's to say I helped them build it. They did the majority of it.
Put this here, put this there. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of them may or may not run away with us when we went out to test fire it. Thank God we only had 3 rounds in the magazine. But yeah, he didn't get the pins in right.
he got the 3-round burst. You're saying
he did it. Yeah. Like I said, thank God it only had 3 rounds because it ran dry quick. But it was, and I was like, whoa, this ain't right. But yeah, I would agree with that caveat. If you've got somebody that has all the tools, that's built plenty, and honestly, that has extra parts laying around too. Because that's what happened. Even though they brought me their stuff, and even though I helped them order it, okay, this is good, buy this, buy that. Inevitably, we had to change a pin, or they didn't want a pin in the package, or a spring was missing, or some stupid something.
Yeah.
And so that helps too, because you're at somebody's place. It's got the tools, they got extra parts, especially the little stuff. If there's something missing, which can happen.
Yeah. Having all the tools is key. I mean, I've since I've got the new stuff, it's from Real Avid, it's so much easier.
Well, I was getting ready to say that.
Much easier.
All 3 of us on this panel are incredible fans, and I think most people in the gun community that have tried their stuff, I would say, if you're looking for a company that you're going to say, hey, I need to get tools for whatever, Real Avid. Just go to their website, pull the credit card out, bite the bullet. That stuff will last you forever.
Yeah,
and it's the best stuff out there. Let's just be honest.
if you're going to build, get the right tool.
Game stops at Real Avid. That's just the way it goes.
Yep.
Yeah, those guys are
so much easier.
Those guys are straight up tool guys, right?
Oh, they're car guys. Absolutely,
more than they're gun guys. They're super into tools, man.
Absolutely.
That's right,
they were out there. You know, we had them on Gear Report with TJ and Scott. They're talking about, you know, how'd you get? He basically said, "Look, they're car guys, but they got into guns and like, well, I need something to do this, and there's not a tool for this anywhere in the market." So they built a tool for one specific thing, and you don't realize how much you need that one specific tool until you need it. You don't realize how often you need it until you need it. You're like, damn, I wish someone, hey, they have a tool for that, you know, and they've even thought of stuff to sit there and say, you may not even realize you need this yet, but you will, you know, and that's a cool thing about Real Avid. I'm not trying to do a commercial for Real Avid, but I think all of us would agree that is the shit.
The pivot pin is disturbing. It's so easy. I mean, I don't know how many detents I've lost doing that, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, look at this little plastic tool! Click, 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 click."
So I had the vast majority of my ARs built before Real Avid really came around.
Yeah,
and building a tool for the pivot pin with a wood dowel rod is super easy. Just saying.
Yeah. So I get mine from Obsidian Arms. They have a tool for that, and I got that one.
Well, I mean, a lot of companies do now, but I'm just saying that the vast majority of my stuff was built before there was, like my barrel wrench is a Geisley that hooks to a breakover or a ratchet. It's a little Geisley wrench.
Okay.
I've got Real Avid stuff too now, but I'm talking about back then stuff I would use, and a lot of my stuff like the what am I thinking, the bolt catch pin. I mean, you really got to be careful. Otherwise, you will scratch the receiver all to bloody heck. So, you know, when you're doing that, what I always like to do is use masking tape, first of all, and mask the area that my punch is going to be in. And then I got smart before they ever designed the tool for it. Now they've got basically a punch that's cut in half. It's flat on one side, right? And that's what I did. I literally ground down a punch so that it you know, you had that clearance and a little more clearance and it wouldn't drag. And so,
must have been threaded now.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this, because this could be being watched or heard by new people to the AR game. As much as we sit there and say, be careful, be careful, be careful on certain things, is it losing a couple detents like a rite of passage into the AR game? Like if you don't lose one, are you really in the club? Let's just be honest.
You need to launch one and sit there with that half a second, like,
and not realize that it's 30 feet away.
I heard it over there.
So detents, springs, that stuff's cheap, and you can buy that stuff by the 5s or the 10 packs.
Absolutely, but losing one and having to search for one. It's you've got to go through that at least once in your life.
I learned real quick, just buy a 5-pack or a 10-pack, and when it goes ting, just grab another one and put it in and be done.
I have an advantage. I work on tile floor, so when they go, I can listen, like, and I hear the I'm like, oh, there we go.
Yeah, good point. Don't build your first on carpet unless you just want the stuff to be vacuumed.
You could vacuum and then go through the vacuum cleaner.
Okay. Have fun with that.
Just saying, you could.
You could, yes. Buck out there says, my first build, I spent most of my time on my knees looking for the springs. Exactly. Now, Defense Dad just jinxed himself. You need to throw salt over your shoulders and spin around 3 times and knock on wood.
Oh, no, you're going to lose one now,
so far, never lost a spring. Yes, the last thing you want to say.
So here's another thing. So the safety selector spring.
Oh, yeah.
Getting the safety selector spring mixed up with the pivot or the takedown spring. And and you'll know it when you do it, because it takes a gorilla to switch the safety on and off when you do that. Because there's way more tension. It's a longer spring. Yeah, it's a little longer spring, and oh my God, the amount of pressure, right? Just that little bit makes. It's crazy.
And that's a great point to bring up for people out there. Not all springs in an AR, it'd be great if they were, but they're not all the same. You can't just put a spring and just find a hole and say, this needs a spring and throw it in there. It ain't going to work. So yeah, that's a great point. Double T out there says a Clevis pin works well for pivot detent installation, but still happy he bought the real Ava tool.
Yep,
there you go.
Yeah, you can get a what is it, a 1/4 inch, I think, or something. Clevis. Yep.
Oh yeah. Is it Clevis pin? Is that what it's called?
That's what I've always called it. But
okay,
I mean, I think it comes down to like having the right tools for the job, and I've known people that have gone through the range the first time with the foam ears. I was like, no, go get you some good ears. You're going to enjoy it. So
Same thing. You'll learn. You'll learn and all of that. Yeah.
That was a good point about the Clevis pin, and I had thought about that after I had built mine, but at the time, like I wasn't thinking about it, right? And I had some wood dowel rods around here, and one fit through there. All I got to do is snip this and then drill a hole through it, and I've got it. You know what I'm saying? I've got an installation tool. It's really all I got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And use a punch, and I'm like, not a problem. And I did it. And then like the next time, I'm always looking through the nuts and bolts and all the crazy stuff at the hardware store, because my local hardware store has an excellent selection of that. And so I'm always modifying, playing around with different things. So it's nice to know what they have there, right? And I seen the Clevis pins that one day, and I'm like, I wonder if this will work. And I bought one and brought it home just to see. And I'm like, oh, it does. Now I kept using the wood dowel, and I use that to this day. I do. I've even got the tool from Real Avid, and I'll grab the wood dowel over because it's just, I'm used to it.
Yeah, Marcus says
that the Real Avid has a punch is just the right depth. So when you put it in there and spin it, you're just done.
Yeah. Marcus says that the Clevis pin is the best $1 he ever spent. I can imagine. Now, there is a lot of talk out here about sights, whether it's iron sights, dot sights, LPVOs, and all of that.
I like them all.
And you can't go wrong with any of them. Okay. I have flip up sights. I have iron sights. I have A2 sights, iron sights. Absolutely. You probably need to learn how to shoot your AR with irons or flip ups, whatever, but a non-reticle dot or whatever, just sights. That's just like anything else. That's how you need to learn. As far as what to get for an optic, that's entirely up to you. I will say this: if you're looking for the easiest optic to throw on your first AR, some kind of a dot, some kind of a red dot, because you're talking about a 1 magnification, but you're talking about unlimited eye relief. And it's a lot easier no matter where you put it on that top rail. There are places you want to, but it really doesn't matter. As long as it's on there and it's secure, you're going to be fine with a red dot. When you start talking about LPVOs, and I love LPVOs, don't get me wrong. I've grown to love them. I've got 7 of them over here. The problem that you're going to run into is if you're not used to it, it will take a little bit with different eye relief and different magnifications. Zeroing, you want to zero an LPVO on the maximum magnification, whatever that is. They run 1 to 8, 1 to 4, 1 to 6, 1 to 10, whatever the highest magnification. That's what you want to zero your rifle at. And then you'll probably find yourself, like if it's a 1 to 6, you'll probably find yourself, maybe you like it at 2 magnification for everything. Whatever. But understand that there is going to be a different learning curve with an LPVO, which is great. They give you a lot of options. But if you're just starting out and you don't know what you don't know, iron sights or flip up sights, whatever, but iron sights, learn how to shoot with that. And then I would probably recommend, because red dots are so cheap these days also, you can find them that are really good quality for a really low price. But once again, 1 magnification, unlimited eye relief really kind of gets you in the idea of how to shoot. And that's what I would go with to start out with. That's my opinion. You can start out with whatever the hell you want, But I'm gonna start with Clover real quick and say let's talk optics real quick to someone who's never had an AR or whatever. Let's take irons out of the way. I think that's probably what we would all say to start with. So take iron sights as a given. Would you recommend some sort of LPVO or a magnified reticle or a red dot, or what would you recommend to the first time shooter with an AR, Clover?
I think that depends a lot on the the person and their eyesight, to be honest.
Well, this is true.
I tend to say red dot, but then, depending on the red dot and depending on
They have astigmatism.
stigmatism or,
Sure.
nearsighted, farsighted issues or something like that, then an LVPO may be better,
Or
right?
a prism. If you have an astigmatism, a prism might be the way to go.
Yeah,
It
but
could
you
still
get
be a red dot, but it's just a little
yeah,
bit
but you get
different.
a little more expensive than you're getting
Which
up
you
into a
do.
little more expensive categories. You do that, right? And so one thing we were talking about optics, and while we're on that, one thing to keep in mind that I see a lot of people do and they don't understand. I've seen this back in the early days a lot. So you've got different types of mounts. You have what I call a square mount, right? Which is a mount with the two rings, and they're
Sure.
both they're both 90. It's 90 degree. In other words, it makes a
Mhm.
U shape, right? And
Sure.
then you've got the kind that's got the angle piece that goes forward a little bit or backwards, which I
Sure.
guess
It
whichever
can,
way
yeah,
you go,
yeah,
but it
absolutely. Yeah.
angles and then it
Mhm.
comes up into that other ring, right? A lot of people don't realize that, but you can that's you can flip that around backwards. That's why that's made
Oh,
that way,
absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
because you want to be able to get your eye relief, and sometimes depending on the scope you're using, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to flip that mount around backwards. You have to flip it around the other way.
Mhm.
I don't know how many people I've seen like hugging up on their stocks all the way down, and they're hugging up on it because it's sitting too far forward. And I'm like, why don't you flip
Yep.
the mount around backwards? And they're like, well, it's supposed to go that way. It's supposed to go where that's forward. And
As
I'm
long
like,
as it runs, it doesn't matter.
no, that's made to clear the charging handle in the back. That's why that angle is
Correct.
there, so you can flip it around and it clears the charging handle. They're like,
Yep.
oh, okay.
Yep. Now I'm not going to say that Travis T is wrong because there is no right or wrong. He says a red dot, the most forward notch on the upper receiver feels right. Dot is small and easy to see around the peripheral. For me, I kind of disagree with that. For me, okay, I like mine. It basically covering the top of the ejection port. That's I'll rather run my dot a little bit closer to the eye than all the way forward. Now, on the holographic, yes. On certain ones, yeah. But typically, I'll try to run my dot base kind of right on top of the ejection port. Now, you can always move it until it finds out. Now, what I will say is this. Here's the biggest mistake that I see beginners, and I don't want to use the term beginners in a negative way, but beginners with, especially with red dots, is they have
Novices.
novices. There you go. They have like the brightness settings like maxed out at 10. And there are times possibly when that would be really bright day, a glare, something like that. I get that. What you want to do, this is just my opinion. I'll go through the room with this as well. For me, what you want to do is go to the lowest brightness setting that you can still see the dot clearly. Okay. Because you want your eye to be able to focus on that. If you've got the brightness too high, it's going to this kind of discolor or clout the whole sight picture of that optic.
Yeah, you lose what
Bring
you're
them,
shooting at.
bring the brightness down as low as you can to where you can still see the dot and still see it well. Whether that's a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it might be a 10 for you. I'm just saying that's my thing. TJ, what do you think about the brightness settings? You good with running it as
I
bright
do.
as you can? Or?
I go as late as possible, as low as possible. I've got the one I've been running after how many I've reviewed and run. I've read the Primary Arms SLX MD25. It's got the
Yeah.
the wide objective, but I run that thing on the lowest setting just because I like to be able to see the target. The bright. I've had it the brightest. I just got one in from God, almost forgot. I'm forgetting who I just got one in, and it's only got 5 settings.
Is it Riton or?
And the brightest one, oh God, I'll think of it here in a second. But the brightest setting, you will not be able to see what you're shooting at.
Yeah.
Meprolight.
Yeah.
So I guess
okay. Yeah.
Meprolight.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is you can
that
just
thing all the way up, and I was like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah. So I try to run everything on the lowest settings just so I can see. I mean, if light is an issue and you have issues, then you
can always turn it up in certain scenarios.
Yeah, most of them have like 12 settings or 10 settings on them. Right. It's ridiculous, but the lower the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Marcus out there says my first 2 ARs have red dots with magnifiers. All of my other ARs and AKs have LPVOs. I have a little astigmatism, so the LPVO is the way to go with me, all with edged reticles. And we're probably, for some people out there, you're probably hearing terminology that you have no idea what we're talking about. LPVO is light powered variable optic. It's a You can start at 1x magnification all the way up to, depending on what it is, it might be a 10x or 8x or 6x. So you have different magnifications with one optic. When you hear a 1x red dot, that's just whatever the size is naturally, that's what you're going to see. When you hear the word etched reticle, what that is it's not going to be a picture of a LED dot on a piece of glass. It's actually going to be etched into the glass, where if you lose power or something like that, that reticle is still going to be there, whether there's light going through it or not. And that's been probably the one that I'd say that most people that have astigmatism will go to find something that has that etched reticle. And they have etched reticles now. Before it was only in a couple different things, but now a lot of people are going with etched reticles and everything. So if you do have an astigmatism, I would suggest probably trying to find something in an etched reticle. That's just, I don't have one, so I can't speak to that personally.
Yeah, and so that's what's great about the AR is it's such a personalized platform. You can do, there's so many modifications that you can customize it for yourself, and that's what I love about it. But I've had so much trial and error. I've got like bins and bins of parts and optics and gas tubes and gas blocks and stuff that is just like, I don't know.
Yeah, you'll find out what kind of hand guard you want to run. It feels good to you. Then you realize, oh man, my gas block's too high for that, or what? I mean, you're gonna find yourself again. You're gonna have on this shelf over here. I've just got boxes. Like you're going to find yourself with all these extra parts that you can literally build a whole nother one with extra parts.
And then you throw on I want to run a suppressor on this. Oh crap! Yeah. Oh god!
I've got to get something. I've got to get this. I got to get this. I got to get this. And that is the greatest thing about the AR platform. It is the most modular platform probably ever created, to where you can literally customize however you want. A lot of people will run an LPVO on top, but now they're going to run a little 45 little dot so that you've got both. I mean, once again, you can do whatever the hell you want to, and that's the beautiful thing about the AR platform.
So you said earlier, talking about the definitions of things, you said LPVO, you said light power variable optic,
light power variable optic.
Low power.
Low power. Yeah. Low power. Low power variable optic.
Just since we're explaining terminology.
No. You're right. I don't. Yeah. No. You're absolutely right.
I knew what you meant. TJ knew what you meant.
Low power variable optic. And once again, it comes down to being able to change the magnification on that. Now, someone up here says, Screaming Skull Saloon says, he likes the Odin Works extended mag release. That's coming talking in. I like larger mag release. Also, I have shorter fingers. Larger mag release buttons for me are a must as well. That's what we're talking about, though. That's the beautiful thing about the AR. Now, if you ask me, and most people that know me know this, if you ask me which platform, the AR or the AK, that I like to shoot more, I like the AK platform shooting wise. I love shooting an AK, but the AR platform itself is awesome. Like I said, you can literally customize it however you want to. Now, Marcus brings up something here. We're talking terminology again, but we're talking to people that might be listening to this about their first. They may not know jack about what we're talking about. When you're talking about optics, when you're talking about whether it's a rifle scope, an LPVO, something that's going to have some magnification and all of that, you heard the word first focal plane and second focal plane. Now, this is how do I put this? For beginners, I suggest a first focal plane. I think they need to learn on that, and then I prefer a second focal plane. But for a beginner, I think a first focal plane is probably where it's at. TJ, what do you think about first versus second focal plane for someone who's not used to an optic?
No, the first focal plane, get that thing, get it figured out, and you keep the wide objective.
Yeah. Now, what we're talking about, the first focal plane, second focal plane, is you have your reticle, okay? And inside your reticle, when you change the magnification, the reticle, if you go closer, like 6x versus 1x, the reticle is going to change with the magnification. So it's a little bit easier to kind of do that. Now, once you get used to it, I enjoy second focal plane because sometimes if I have to zoom into, let's say this is a 24, a 6 to 24, I usually keep it on 18. Now, I don't want my big ass reticle so big that it takes up the whole sight picture. So that's why I choose a second focal plane now, because the reticle is going to stay the same size as you change magnification, whether it's up close or way far away, that reticle size is going to change. But I think for beginners, it's probably easier for that first focal plane. That's just me. Go ahead.
That's what I figured it out, and that's what I learned. And then I stepped up to the like the Romeo Juliet combo with the flip down magnifier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
so that's what I run.
I've still got that set up on one of my ARs, and it's.
So on my battle rifle, this is EOTech holographic sight with a 3x magnifier on it. I'll run it on 1x most of the time. Every now and then I will flip to the 3. If I have to flip up to, if I need more than 3x magnification for this particular rifle, I'm probably not using this rifle. That's just me. That's just me.
And that's what I've got, and that's what's great about it is I've got one set up with my Romeo Juliet, and I've got one set up with an LVPO, and I've got one set up with just a Romeo 3 red dot on it, and it's a pistol, and that's that's what it is.
Yeah. Clover, as far as beginners, first focal plane or second focal plane? TJ and I both agreed to start out with is probably first focal plane, but I prefer a second now. But I think first focal plane for beginners. What do you say?
I get the two mixed up entirely too often.
Well, that's fair too. Yeah, that's first focal plane. The reticle's gonna get bigger and smaller with the magnification. Second focal plane is going to stay.
So second focal plane is old school. First focal plane is the newer stuff. Second focal plane. I say start with second focal plane.
Okay.
Yeah. First of all, barrier to entry is cheaper for a quality optic.
This is true. This is true. Yep. That is
and
true.
You're going to learn a little more that way, I think, to where you would appreciate the second focal plane a little more. It's I don't like it when people start out and they learn on like super easy, simple things. Um,
Okay.
because you lose a lot when it comes to learning fundamentals that way. It's the
Okay.
same way that I would recommend that everybody starts out on irons and gets
Absolutely. Yeah.
very proficient with irons and then moves into some type of an optic. It's the same thing. I think
Yep.
if you start out with that second focal plane, you're gonna learn some things that's gonna make you that much more efficient when you do move to first focal plane.
I don't think you've changed my mind, but I absolutely understand. Absolutely, yeah, I absolutely understand what you're saying, and that's yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, um, especially for someone if you go to like your first AR and you've never even looked through a red dot, much less a variable optic. It's going to look weird to you.
So
And so I do understand that reticle staying the same size no matter what you switch will teach a lot of things. Like I said, I prefer a second focal plane.
yeah, me
yeah.
too.
I just assume that first focal plane might be
So what's
easier
the perk?
to learn.
Yeah, but what is the perk? Right? Because if you're talking about somebody new that's not understanding the gauge of distance and other things, the whole point of first focal plane is to be able to gauge off of the reticle. And if you
Yeah.
haven't learned the skills of gauging off of a reticle, then what good does that actually do you? You feel what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
don't
I know what
disagree with
you're saying.
that argument.
I
Yeah.
still, I mean, it depends. I think it all comes
To
down to
me, it's just
depending on
easier. It's easier with first focal
yeah,
plane. Yeah.
what your end game on the rifle is and where you're
Yeah.
looking at. I mean, I've got, like I said, I learned on irons, and then I bought the
Yep.
cheapest red dot that they had,
Well,
and then I was like, I didn't even know about co-witnessing. Like, oh, you can
Yeah.
flip over. I was like, oh my gosh, like mine just
well,
like,
are you
and then
are you
I moved
buying
on to
your
everything else, and it was, you know,
are you
You
buying your
learn through
first
progression.
rifle? Are you
Yeah.
buying your first rifle, getting your first optic, and going out to the range and shooting 5, 6, 7, 800 yards? Or are you going buying it and then you might be shooting 50 or 100 yards? And at that point, does
Probably.
does it really make a difference?
Probably not.
And
No,
so
not
it's
in
right.
that
like
That's what I'm saying.
situation.
maybe
It
cost,
depends
maybe
on
that
where you're looking at on the end game. I like to
Yeah.
be. I mean, I like to be nuts at 100 yards with that thing, like just
yeah,
nuts, like just eat up a bullseye at 100 yards.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I can do that. I can do that with a red dot, or my Romeo Juliet. I can do it with the red dot or the magnifier. It doesn't matter.
right.
Yep. No, I get it. Man, this could take us down a whole other rabbit hole. Kind of a muzzle brake snob, I have to admit. I get it. I have never been a huge brake guy until I started shooting long distance. I think with bolt action long distance rifles, I think a muzzle brake is much more essential than with an AR going out to 200 or 300 yards. That's just me. I'm not saying, I run brakes on mine, but I don't
Yep.
think that I'm not worried about really what braking, whether it's a brake or a compensator, or I don't, I'm not that guy
Yep.
with an AR. Now, long distance, there is a huge difference with running a brake or a suppressor at long range distances. What do you guys think about brakes with ARs?
I mean, the
TJ, go ahead.
technology has come a long, long way, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a company we saw at the gathering. They have adjustable brakes where you
Yeah.
can adjust your muzzle brake on how it's how you want everything to go, and it's like it's
Yep.
crazy. I mean, I'm fine with the brake. I just
And now a
I
lot of
don't
the
know if
brakes
it's
are self-timing, which is even makes it a whole
so
lot
many.
easier doing self-timing. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I've had probably I got 15 or 16 of them in my storage bin where I've used them and like, I don't like it. I don't like
yeah.
it, and like not much difference, but there's a couple that I've liked that I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. That made a difference.
Now,
So
before we jump into
yeah,
this, I'm gonna let Clover jump in on this also in a second. But before we do, I want to once again, I keep forgetting we might be talking to people that have no idea what a muzzle brake is. Obviously, you can Google it, okay? But it's an attachment that goes at the end of the barrel on the muzzle, And what it does is it disperses the gases. Now, whether it's a muzzle brake or a compensator, they do different things. A lot of times a muzzle brake is just going to kind of keep it. They try to, no matter what muzzle device you use, it's there to try to, as much as possible, mitigate recoil and muzzle flipper rise to try to keep shots relatively accurate, especially on follow-up shots. So the gases come through the barrel, and how they're dispersed is going to help, whether it's lift or recoil or whatever. A muzzle device is going to help with mitigate recoil, follow-up shots, keeping the muzzle discipline on that, focused on the target or whatever. So if you're interested, you can Google it. But when you hear muzzle device, whether it's a muzzle brake or a compensator or whatever, they're different things, but they're there with the gases. The gases have to go somewhere. They can either go straight out, that's going to bring that right back into your shoulder and make the recoil much worse, or they're going to go out to the sides, or they're going to send them up and down, whatever. They have different ones for whatever you want. But that's when you hear a muzzle device, it's there to help mitigate recoil and keep the muzzle on target longer. So you can, like I said, Google if you want. I'm going to bring Clover in and sit there and say, what's your thought on muzzle devices? You're muted, bud.
Yeah, no, I had to cough right when you asked
gotcha.
that,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But yeah, for me, it's, honestly, on the AR platform, unless it's a purpose-driven thing, it's going to come down to whatever you think looks good, I think.
And honestly, most of them are going to come with like A2. I mean, they're just
like, oh man, that looks bad to the bone on the front of it. We'll put that one on there, because at the end of the day, if you're just running around the range at, again, 50 or 100 yards, or who cares? Now, I have that said, do I have a 24-inch bench AR with a 13-degree target crown and no muzzle brake or even threaded barrel? Yes, I do. Why?
I figured you might bring up the crowns.
Why is it a 13? Why is it a 13-degree target crown? Because of the type of ammunition that 24-inch 1 7 twist barrel is throwing. Right, it's a bench gun.
Now we're throwing out the term target crown. Now we're throwing beginners down a deep rabbit hole.
They're done. They're like,
don't worry about that right now. Don't worry about this right now.
You don't need to worry about that. It's not. Well, it's not going to pertain to any of you. Well,
a crown makes a difference. If you screw up the crown of your rifle, no matter what muzzle brake you got, it's not going to shoot right. True. Let's address the crown. It doesn't take but a second. But the crown is the area of the barrel right at the end of the muzzle where the projectile comes out of. Right. That is the crown, is the very tip end of the barrel. And that needs to be uniformed in nature around the bore. Now, at what degree angles and other things, that's where it gets complicated. And that depends on what you're shooting and what you're trying to accomplish. And don't pay any attention to that. But that is the crown. So that's the muzzle crown. And they call it a target crown when it's optimized for a specific, a specific goal, specific round. That aside,
more in precision stuff, though. Am I right?
Yeah,
I mean, usually,
yeah. And so back to the muzzle devices, right? So for me, there's the 3 categories, and again, I go back to, unless it's purpose driven, and as I explain the categories the way that I understand it, that also explains the purposes. But you've got a flash hider. That does nothing but, instead of a big fireball coming out the front, there's 3 or 4 or 6, or it depends on the flash hider, fireballs that come out the side, smaller fireballs, right, that come out side.
That's right.
Then you've got a muzzle brake. Muzzle brake is the old school brake, BRAKE. Old school in that primarily the function of a muzzle brake is to disrupt and expel the gases in such a way that mitigates recoil. That's right. A muzzle brake. Then you've got a compensator, and the compensator is compensating for the rise of the muzzle. It's dispersing gases in such a way that compensates for the rise of the muzzle. And then with that, you can have combination brakes that hide the flash, that they do all 3.
Let's talk about a 4th muzzle device. Suppressors.
Suppressors.
Now, a lot
That's
of
an
people
NFA
think that it's,
thing, but yeah.
it's an NFA thing, but I think a lot of people also misunderstand exactly what the purpose is, because there's multiple purposes to suppressors. It's not just to muffle the report out of the firearm. You talk to many long range shooters. They'll swear by running suppressors instead of a muzzle brake for different things. Different calibers, different loads perform better with a suppressor than it does with a brake or a compensator and all that. So I just want people out there that are learning. When you hear suppressor, it's not just what you see in Hollywood movies. It's not there to make it silent. It does have many suppressors. Do have many things that you can be used for. I think Clover probably, absolutely. I think Clover, you'd probably, for a lot of different reasons, but I think that you'd probably prefer a suppressor over a brake. Would you not?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And not just for the silence of things, Yeah.
I would have a freaking cabinet full of suppressors if it wasn't for the stupid NFA. I mean, if I had a pocket full of money, if I had a pocket full of money and it could afford $200 a pop, I'd have a cabinet full of them. That's my
absolutely.
But you got to get rid of the stupid NFA before we can get rid of the $200. But yeah, recoil mitigation, obviously flash suppression as well. When you talk about long range, there's a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
The Mirage, I mean, as your barrel, as things heat up, right? That a suppressor helps cut a lot of that down. And then if you're shooting steel at long range, I mean, obviously it's a sound, and it's not so much about your hearing protection, but being able to actually hear, the steel downrange. So a lot of
or hearing range commands or whatever,
And then the big obvious ones is it protects your hearing. No, it does not make it.
It's not going to be Hollywood silent, guys.
No, it's not going to be. You take a 5.56, and most people are suppressing their 5.56 with 308 suppressors.
Yes, correct.
7.62 suppressors. Why? Because why would you pigeonhole yourself at $200 and all the paperwork and everything else into a 5.56
$600 just for the tax stamp, much less the cost of a suppressor.
Right. When
multi-cal suppressors are well worth the money.
Yeah, when effectively, and a multi-cal suppressor, you're just changing the end cap to a smaller diameter end cap is all you're doing. But yeah, why would you do that? And effectively, it does just as good a job, with the exception of as far as being hearing safe, right? It does just as good a job. Now, if you're talking about a multi-cal suppressor, there you got to realize that's a jack of all trades. And so if you're a suppressor snob, if you're a subsonic snob, and you're going for movie quiet, right? You're going for as quiet of a muzzle
22.
report as you can possibly get. Yeah. 22 or pellet right. I can shoot.
And it's going to cost you some money to get a really good 22 suppressor.
The SIG 22 was the quietest one I've heard. I was right up on that thing at range day at SIG day. And I was like,
my
right here. Like, I was like,
so my 308 Ruger American, which I've cut the barrel down to 16 inches on it. I, worked up a subsonic load, a lot of different things, use it primarily for coyotes. It's pellet gun quiet with my Gemtech HVT.
Nice.
In 308, right? So can you do it? Yeah. Does it require a bunch of stuff to get you there? Yeah. But what I'm saying is
anything can be done. It's just time and money.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you go from the area of it's just hearing safe, which is completely awesome, to purpose driven again. Like, hearing safe is not good enough. I want it better than that, right? And that's when you're going to have to start dropping money on a specific suppressor. That's when you're going to have to start dropping money on certain ammunition loaded a certain way to give you the gas expansion signature that suppressor is going to work best with, and so forth and so
on. Real quick shout out, Mandatory Carry, $5 super chat. Keep fighting. Absolutely, brother. Great question up here, Defense Dad. And it's hard to answer, but we'll get into this. It says, in today's market, how cheap is too cheap for someone buying or building their first AR, in your opinion? I would say that anything right now, anything under $300, I'd be skeptical. 3 years ago, $300 was easy, no problem. You could, I mean, but anything under $300 right now, I'd be a little worried about the quality of parts. Now, that said, what you can do is go to reputable sources. And a lot of these guys are running sales. You can get blims that might just be a paint thing, but the barrel itself is great. You go to Palmetto State Armory, Aero Precision,